Hi everyone. I've not done a video in a while, but I've been thinking of like the best ideas to do, and what's been on my mind is how to stay well in anorexia recovery. This has been the hardest thing for me in the past, so getting to a healthy weight and being able to maintain it, for me it's a lot harder than actually having to gain weight for some reason. That's when I kind of get a bit resistant, and that's when things have gone downhill in the past. But I feel in a different position this time, so I've got no worries that it's not going to happen. But the best thing to do is to have a safety plan regardless, just to sort of protect yourself. So I've kind of come up with some tips of how to stay well in recovery, which might help people that are struggling. The first tip I've got is honesty. Honesty in terms of eating disorders is something I've struggled with, and not being honest has made me struggle more because of things I struggle with in my head and not being able to tell people. So even if I have a few bad thoughts and stuff, I try and tell my care team, because it's best to get it out and get support, because if you keep it to yourself, that's when the anorexia starts creeping in and tries to catch you out, and you're more likely to listen to it. So I've learned being honest is the best thing, because not being honest does not help you or anyone else, because no one else can help you if they don't actually know what's going on. In terms of food, I stick to a bit of meal plan, but I'm a lot more flexible. But there's things I know throughout my life that I'm going to have to do to protect myself from any relapses. I've found it hard in the past to compare what I eat with what other people eat, especially people that don't have an eating disorder. So I might be like, oh my god, well, they're not eating that, so I shouldn't. But what I've got to remember is I've got an eating disorder, so I know what's right for me. Everyone eats different amounts and different times, and that's just completely normal. You just have to remember that what you're doing is right. It doesn't matter what anyone else does, just keep going, because if you compare yourself with what other people are eating and act on that, it just doesn't help, because every person, everybody's bodies are different. People need different amounts and stuff, and obviously people without eating disorders can find it easy to be flexible and stuff, because they don't really give it a second thought. And that's another thing for me. I know that I can't go a day without sticking to my main 3 meals, obviously, a minimum. If I skip lunch or any meal, it puts me at risk of missing that meal out the next day. That's what's happened before. If I miss any small thing, I don't need enough for that, because I don't, but I'll have enough tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, so I always make sure I have the minimum possible that I need every single day. It's like the other day, I was hungry at night, so I had some cereal, and it was on top of what I'd normally eat, and I felt hungry, so I listened to my body. But then in the morning I felt guilty, and the first thought that came to mind was, well, that can be your breakfast for this morning, so you don't need to have it. And that's something I did in the past, which ended up contributing towards a relapse. So I literally had to be strict with myself and say no, that I ate it because I was hungry, and I don't need to justify why I ate it. Today's a new day, I need my breakfast. If I don't have my breakfast, it'll just set me up for a bad day. So I remember getting my cereal out the cupboard, and in my head I was literally fuck you any horrible eating disorder thoughts, and I just went with it, because I know it might not seem a big deal, but if I listened to that negative voice, it would have made it harder and harder to be having breakfast every day, and it wouldn't have helped me be flexible at all. But linking to that is, you are going to have bad days and bad thoughts. That's completely normal. Recovery is not linear, it's up and down. But one small blip doesn't mean a relapse. Obviously the best thing to do is combat negative thoughts, override them, and just go against it. But if you do happen to struggle and something doesn't go right, and you might have eaten safer food, or you should have had something that you didn't, don't sort of see it as all or nothing and think, well, that's it then, I might as well just carry on, because one blip does not mean a relapse, and you have to move on. And again, that's something I struggle with. I find it hard to move on. You've just got to think, well, that was then, this is now. keep focusing on the positive. Another thing that I have learned throughout my life is that I can never go on a diet again in my life. Obviously, say if I have like certain foods I can't eat because like my stomach or whatever, which has never happened, then yeah, I'll have to maybe like some people are like gluten intolerant, then obviously yes, but I can never go on a diet with the intention to lose weight, because that's what started off my eating disorder. So that's just something that I know that I can't do, and that's to protect myself from like struggling with eating disorders in the future. And these are all sorts of things that I do to protect myself, so some people might relate to them, they might not, everyone else individual ones. Another thing is, like, obviously when you have an eating disorder and if you go to an inpatient unit, you make friends, which is like really good, but it's just making sure that when you leave that you've got the right support from the right people. Like, I have friends with eating disorders, and it's fine, it doesn't trigger me, but if you feel really vulnerable and you feel like someone is triggering you or it's not helping your recovery or your life, it's best to just think, well, what do I need in my life? Is this person helpful? And it's not selfish, but it's about putting your needs first, because you're focusing on your life. So it's about being mindful about having friends with eating disorders. And what am I saying? It's actually perfect. No. That's what I was going to say. Again, Instagram. There's a massive eating disorder community on Instagram, which for me is great because there's so many inspirational people that I follow. Massively helps me. But again, everyone's at different stages, so what you might think is helpful, someone else might not. You might see something that someone posts that they eat and think, oh my god, like I eat more than that. So if, again, you're feeling vulnerable, it's best to not follow anyone that you're not finding helpful, like, for you. Because you'll just be consumed with eating disorder people / thoughts / everything. And if that's something that's not going to help you move forward, then it's like, at the end of the day, it's not going to be helpful. So yeah, be mindful about what accounts you're following. It is great. Like I said, there's so many people that really, really help me, and I've made a lot of friends from following eating disorder accounts. But just be really mindful about what position you're in your recovery, and mindful that everyone's at different stages. So you've got to be in a strong place if you're willing and happy to see what people post and see what let others see what you post. So all them are like protective factors, and the last thing is basically to like keep yourself going, don't, instead of looking back all the time, is remember why you're doing this. Like, remember all the things that you are getting from recovery, because obviously if you're recovering, then you're doing it for a reason. If you think about your pie chart of life when you was in anorexia, it will be completely different to a pie chart of recovery. Like, in anorexia recovery, your social life and your education, your job and all that will be tiny point amounts, whereas anorexia stuff will be the bigger part of the pie chart. But if you look at your recovery one, all the things will be more balanced, so you won't be focused on that. You'll actually have a life with like socialising and stuff like that in it. And when I thought of remembering why I'm doing this, I know why I'm doing this. I know what I've already gained from it. Yeah, I do have shit days and I have shit thoughts, but because of how great life is without it, that's what helps me keep me going. So I asked some of my family members if they seen any changes in me, and I said to them, like, obviously if you haven't, then say, like, don't just say, oh yeah, this and that, if it's not true. But it's actually really nice. I got some really nice feedback. Like, my nana said I'm more bubbly, which is so much nicer, and I'm still not like 100% confident, but I do feel a lot more confident. And she said I'm also good at supporting people, which I'm not really sure how that was meant, but what it did remind me of is that when you do struggle with anorexia, it does make you very selfish, and that's not you as a person, that's your illness. But because you're so consumed in your own world and everything else is just like not important, because it kind of gets in the way, like everything else got in the way for me when I was sort of in that anorexic world. It does make you selfish, so to kind of have your brain functioning and be in a position where you can help people is amazing, because it shows that you can look after yourself and be able to help others. So that's what it reminded me of. And my dad like gave me loads of really good feedback. I'm not going to like read it all, but I gave some things what he said. He said the Chelsea who had eating disorders that fully controlled her life was a different person. You were dreadfully thin, so will you knocked on heaven's door many times. During those times you would often be too tired and poorly for more than a simple conversation, spending hours just laid in bed. Yeah, I did spend a lot of time in bed. And it is such an effort to make conversation because your brain is, again, not functioning right. The effort to string words out your mouth and motivation and energy is just not there. So it's like talking, I'm guessing it's like talking to a robot when you're talking to someone that is not well. And you don't realise how ill you were. And I look back, honestly, I laugh about stuff I used to do. Like, that don't affect me. I'd rather make a joke out of it. Like, I'd say to my family, oh, do you remember when I did this and do you remember when I did that? Because it's just like, obviously it's serious, but now I feel better. It's like good to have a laugh about it because I feel like I can. And he said, he wrote loads. The first thing you will notice is you usually have a smile on your face. You are often laughing. You have refound your sense of humour. I didn't even know I had a sense of humour. But it's nice to think that I do in a way. The second thing you will notice, you look healthier. You wear a safe weight. You enjoy a different life. You now enjoy many things. Let's get down to the basics. I think you still probably struggle a bit with eating, but it doesn't control your life, and you can take normal pleasure from eating. I completely agree with that. Like, my eating is no way perfect. Like, I'm healthy weight, maintaining that, which is the main thing, and I'm becoming more flexible as the days go on. And I do still struggle with certain things, but like I struggled with everything before, over time, if I keep going, I'll become even less and less in an eating disorder, which if it feels great now, it's going to feel like amazing in the future. Also, another sort of protective factor is I'm like going all around. This isn't very structured, but I keep remembering things. It's really hard when you've had an eating disorder with social media and like adverts and stuff, because a lot of adverts is like diet, food, how to look, what is society's perception of beauty, which is not like, what is beauty? Beauty is the fact that everyone is unique and individual. There's no one size fits all. Like, everyone is different, and that is what makes the world amazing. How like boring would it be if everyone looked the same and adhere to what people think you should wear, how much you should weigh, what you should look like? That's just not important in life. And obviously, like, food has nutrition on it, which is needed for like people that need to look at the nutrition. That's something I found hard. Like, I don't count calories, but I am sometimes looking at the nutrition on some food, which will sometimes influence whether I purchase it or not. That's something I need to work on. But I remember my dietitian in York, he was amazing, saying like, that nutrition is written by the government for like people that need to look at the nutrition. They don't factor in people's ages, height, like they don't write it for people with eating disorders. So you've kind of got to just try your best. It's easy saying it because I find it really difficult. But you have to ignore it. Like, one serving of rice or whatever, like one serving of rice. What is one serving of rice, or how many chips should you put on your plate? It's just a portion, that's it. I always try and tell myself a portion is a portion. If it looks like a portion, it's a portion. But yeah, it is really, really difficult. That's what I find hard, not to do it. But yeah, just diet, food and products and stuff, like, just don't listen to it if you know it's not going to help you, or it's going to like trigger your eating disorder in any way. So they're like some protective factors, and obviously people use eating disorders as a way to sort of control the life in some way, shape or form. And a lot of it's to do with emotions, like, because obviously your emotions come back and stuff, which is weird. I've said that in another video. But it's about learning and using all your skills that you've got to deal with emotions, like whether you're happy, sad, don't take it out on food, like that's never got you anywhere before. So it's about thinking, I feel shit, that's fine. it won't stay like, I won't feel like this forever. And it's okay not to feel great every day. And when you feel great, then great, like, it's good, yeah. But yeah, there's so many skills that you can do. And it sounds silly saying, oh, use all your skills and, you know, do your art. But you don't realise how amazing they are at helping you continue and sustain recovery. And even when you've got to a healthy weight, yeah, you need to maintain that. Recovery takes years. So it's about kind of setting up, like, having loads of weapons, if you know what I mean. So whenever a thought comes in, or you feel shit because this has happened, that's going to trigger your eating disorder in some way, then you've got every different type of weapon to use to sort of hit back and tell it to fuck off. That's what I did in my head with the whole cereal thing the other day. In my head, I was literally like, fuck off, I'm not listening to you, this isn't right, you've not got me anywhere before. In fact, you ended up taking all my livelihood away from me. So, just a bit of a random... Sorry, I don't really plan properly these videos, I just go on. But they're sort of things that help keep me well. And I hope that they might give ideas to people to keep well, or like relate to any of them. But that's everything.